King Kong 1976, I feel, is a fun film. It's a remake, yes, that had to follow the original King Kong 1933 in black and white, but this one had a high budget, a reasonably high budget, and I felt it is a fun film, quite overlooked, but still kind of a classic, because especially one of those films that you actually grew up on, especially when they used to repeat it on TV sort of thing in the day. King Kong 1976 basically starts off with a ship crew, and they're going to find oil. The main oil guy in this, the lead of the ship, the captain, sorry, is played by Charles Grodin, who starred in films like Beethoven many years later. 1976's King Kong is an interesting one. It's very off its time, it's very 70s. And part of the ship's crew, we've got Jeff Bridges with long hair and a beard. And he's a zoologist in this film. Also it stars the lovely Jessica Lange, who turns up on a raft, on like a life raft from another ship which got shipwrecked, and she's in this black cocktail dress and she gets rescued, and she's joining this voyage. And there's an island that's been covered by fog, and it's been like that for 35 years plus, and it's a source for drilling for oil. Fast forward a little bit, and they get to the island and they're met by the tribal people. The tribal people take a liking to Jessica Lange and decide to kidnap her and try to sacrifice her to their god King Kong, which is beyond a giant wall. And they did this previously to their land people, their island people, as they sacrifice a woman to their god King Kong. So Jessica Lange's in danger, she gets taken away by King Kong, they put her in like another tribal fancy dress thing, and she's pretty much dressed like that throughout most of the film. King Kong takes her away on the island where the rescuers, the rest of the ship crew, have to try and save her. They come by with flares and warn off the island people, and they try to save her. Well, they do end up saving her. But in the meantime, King Kong's trying to get his way in quite comedic fashion in some ways, with Jessica Lange as he carries her off in his hand, and she's scared for her life, but she ends up loving King Kong at the end of the day. He takes her off into the jungle and everything, where she gets a bit muddy, and he tries to wash her off in like a water fountain, like a waterfall sort of thing, where he drops her into the water and still carries her away. But in the meantime, while he's not paying attention, a giant snake attacks. This is the only type of a monster in the film sort of thing, and this giant snake attacks King Kong, while Jessica Lange manages to get away and gets reunited with Jeff Bridges, the zoologist in this film. They end up capturing King Kong, but before that, the snake fight, Kong splits the snake's face open, his jaws open, and kills the snake in quite a lengthy scene where they're doing battle. And I saw the 3-hour version as well. Maybe they extended that scene as well as many other scenes, but I saw the 3-hour TV version as well, which was quite a treat, I must admit. King Kong ends up getting taken back to New York, I believe, in the USA. They have King Kong, and King Kong ends up, instead of climbing to the Empire State Building, but the Empire State Building is mentioned right earlier in the film when Jessica Lange says that she threw up and she hated heights when she was 10 years old in the film, going up the Empire State Building in an elevator. She did not like that. So how did she feel with being picked up by King Kong and being taken to the top of the World Trade Center when it was still there? Kong is attacked by soldiers and flamethrowers sort of thing, but Jessica Lange does end up getting put down on top of the World Trade Center, one of them anyway, with Jeff Bridges is in pursuit. King Kong does meet his demise towards the end of the film. He's attacked by helicopters which are shooting him with machine guns and he falls to his death. The end is quite a sad one, as usual. Jessica Lange's being surrounded by reporters and crying her eyes out, trying to reunite with Jeff Bridges, who's her saviour in this film. King Kong was actually played by special effects artist, makeup artist Rick Baker. I think it's Rick Baker. Sorry for my mistake there. Rick Baker would do the likes of like American Werewolf in London, the special effects to the werewolf in that film, as well as many other Hollywood films in the day. It's interesting to know that Peter Cullen does the voice of King Kong in this film. He does the roars and the growls, and Peter Cullen we know as the voice of Optimus Prime. It's a fun film. Give it a chance. It's kind of reached legendary status. It's over 40 years old now, and there are fans that still actually like this film. I like this film. It is a bit long, I must admit that. There is a 2-hour, 15-minute version of the film. But we don't see King Kong till about an hour into the film, and you know there is a lot of talking in this film. But if you're invested in the characters, which I kind of was in some ways, Jessica Lange's very beautiful, I thought. Charles Grodin, very likeable. He was a really comedic actor later on down the line, and we got Jeff Bridges with the voice of reason sort of thing. This film was followed by King Kong Lives 10 years later, which came very late, and that film did get panned. Sadly. But King Kong 1976, sorry, is an enjoyable film. And as remakes go, this wasn't too bad. People always jump on the remake wagon and kind of say it's not as good as the original sort of thing, but there's nothing wrong with the original King Kong 1933. And this can be enjoyed just as much. It's very off its time, very 70s. And it's fun to see a few cameos in there from other actors like John Agger, who's plays a very small role in there, as well as others as well. Fun film, give it a try. King Kong Lives from 1986, sequel to the remake from 1976 from the same director. This is Dino De Laurentiis as well, the company which released it. And King Kong Lives, basically, what actually happens in King Kong Lives, it starts off with footage from the 1976 film where Kong's falling to his death from the Twin Towers. And he gets revived because he's been in a coma for 10 years. Whilst he's in this coma, a Mrs. Kong is found, isn't she?
Yep.
Mrs. Kong is found in the jungle. In the jungle, yeah, that's right, by an explorer. And they have to do a blood transfusion to save Mr. Kong, who's been in this 10-year hiatus. And they revive him, bring him back to life. Linda Hamilton stars in this. She
Yeah.
She's doing the operation, isn't she?
She's the top doctor.
Yeah, she's a doctor in this and like a surgeon sort of thing. And she's like the main heroine in this film. She's fresh off Terminator from a couple of years before this film, from 1984. This came out in 1986. And King Kong actually does escape into the wilderness with Mrs. Kong in the American outback sort of thing, where the army's trying to hunt him down, trying to kill him, and the ones that are trying to save him is Linda Hamilton and the male jungle explorer who ends up having a love interest between both of them. Speaking of love interests, King Kong obviously has a love interest in Mrs. Kong.
And that actually mirrors the love interest of the two
actors, yeah.
The two actors.
The two lead actors.
Roles.
That's right, that's a good point actually. And Peter Elliott, who we knew from Predator, who played Predator and also played the Bigfoot in Harry and the Hendersons, plays King Kong in this film. It's all man in a monkey suit sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
No stop motion like in the original King Kong from 1933, nothing like that. Doesn't fight any other animals or dinosaurs in this like he's been known to done in past films and in future films.
Well, although he did kill some baby alligators.
Yeah, but they didn't stand a chance, did they?
No.
Did feel sorry for the... John brings up a good point. The baby alligators in this film, he kills them. Or seemingly kills them. Speaking of eating, the bit that really disturbed me as a kid, which I told you about, do you want to explain that bit?
Not really.
I'll explain it then in that case. King Kong actually is being hunted down not only by the army but also some redneck hunters in this film. They go after him, they entrap him in like an avalanche of rocks when they set off dynamite, these hunters do. They trap King Kong in the wilderness and they want to claim King Kong and get the reward money basically from the army, whoever they're going to turn him into. But King Kong is trapped in this avalanche of rocks. He breaks free and basically he starts killing these hunters, doesn't he?
He does, yes.
Did you enjoy when he killed the hunters? Even though they deserved it, but it actually disturbed me as a kid watching this scene. But do you want to explain what actually happens there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like all the bad guys in the film get killed.
Yeah, well, they get the just desserts basically because they're going against Mother Nature, aren't they, basically?
The hunters get killed and then at the very end the army get killed as well.
Yeah, because there's like a lead sergeant, isn't there?
Yeah, and he gets bumped off.
You thought you recognised him, didn't you, from...
I thought he was... I believe it's actually Taggart from the Beverly Hills Cop films.
Right, I didn't recognise that, but you thought you recognised him in the Beverly Hills Cops film, this sergeant who gets his just desserts in this. And I must admit, this is a long film. An hour and 45 minutes, should have been 90 minutes. And it just dragged out a bit for me. It's not a classic Kong film or anything like that, but it's the only King Kong film from the 80s. And we wouldn't see another King Kong film until many, many years later in Peter Jackson's King Kong, which you preferred, didn't you?
I did prefer it, yes.
That at another later date. But this film dragged for me. It dragged a little bit. And that's what took the enjoyment out of it. You just want to watch the monsters, and at the end there's a baby Kong born because Mrs. Kong is pregnant with obviously King Kong. I hope it's King Kong's baby.
Yeah, well, one of the problems with the film is there's not enough of the Kongs, because the Kongs are the best thing about the film, and they're not
King Kong lives.
They should be. There's too much interaction between all the humans, and not enough King Kong stuff.
The story didn't really save it, did it?
No, it didn't save it.
I'd probably give this film out of 5. I'd probably give it 2.5.
I'm gonna go for it 2.
It's an average film, and probably could have been a bit better. But I prefer the prequel to this, the King Kong remake from 1976 compared to this film.
David Gelmini. I write for Dread Central, which is the world famous horror site. I've been a fan of King Kong since I saw the original 1933 film as a kid, although I felt very sad at the end when Kong falls off the Empire State Building. I think that if you've ever been the kind of person who doesn't quite fit in, or maybe if you've been bullied, I think King Kong will always resonate very strongly with you, because in a way you wish you were Kong, because obviously no one will disrespect you or pick on you or be mean to you if you're a giant gorilla. If you're a giant gorilla, people really would be nice to you. Fight between Kong and the T-Rex. I loved that scene as a kid, and I love it today. I love how he punches the T-Rex and it punches him back like a boxing match. That always makes me smile. This is a King Kong box set that was released by Universal to tie into Peter Jackson's 2005 film. We get the original film, the colorized version of the original film, and the two Toho films, Godzilla vs. King Kong from 1962 and King Kong Escapes from 1967, plus a booklet. Both the Toho films were directed by Ishiro Honda, who also directed the original Godzilla film from 1954, and so it remains to be seen in the 2020 remake who will finally emerge victorious. I think the original King Kong actually delivers the message that humankind shouldn't interfere with nature. We shouldn't try to expand every square inch of the planet. We should just have our own space and let nature thrive, because I think the film, like I said, I think it shows what happens when we become too greedy and when we try to exploit the earth for our own good. Because obviously they kidnapped King Kong to put him on display as a freak so that they could make money for their own greed, and it backfired when he escaped and went on the rampage. The future is looking very, very bright for King Kong. First of all, he's going to make a cameo appearance in Steven Spielberg's next film, Ready Player One. So it's going to be so cool to say, in a way, that Steven Spielberg directed a King Kong film. And then in 2020, there's going to be the long-awaited remake of King Kong vs. Godzilla, which is going to be directed by Adam Wingard, who directed Death Note and the new Blair Witch movie. It's going to be a part of Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures' shared MonsterVerse saga, so that's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So if you're a King Kong fan, right now is a very happy time to be alive. The World of King Kong book, which has a foreword written by Peter Jackson, offers a complete insight into the history of the mysterious Skull Island and all the creatures that live there, which is pretty cool, because we see Skull Island in the films, but I think we want to know more about it. We want to know everything about the island and its mysterious inhabitants. So this book is truly wonderful in the sense that it gives us a complete look at all the weird and wonderful creatures that exist on the mysterious island. I think parents should definitely show the original King Kong to their kids. I think, like I said, it's a film that will always resonate with people from any generation. I think it's a film that kids will love, adults will love. I think it's just a timeless classic.